Yeah, I know we're doing this a little bit differently. Hopefully, everybody had safe travels out there to Vegas. I know a bunch of you are out there. Just kind of recap the game. Disappointing, tough, hard fought game. We needed to make a few plays during the game. We had, end of the first half, had ball 1 yard line, and did a very good job defending, what we called. And then, defensively, I thought we played okay in the first half. We played really well in the second half. Did a great job of creating takeaways. Not very many times when you that much plus in the turnover takeaway game do you come out with a loss. But it just we got to make the plays when it's time to make the plays. A lot of big punt return. That they converted for a field goal a little bit later, and then had our chances there at the end, but unfortunately didn't come up with the point. So a tough one. We looked at the tape this morning. We just got done practicing a little while ago, and we're moving on to Baylor, which is what you got to do in this business. So I'll open it up for any questions anybody has.
We'll go to Joseph Duarte.
Hey, good morning, Willie. Thanks for doing this.
You bet.
Willie, what do you think's been the reason you guys have done so well on the road this season?
I don't know. It's we've sometimes you get in those situations where it's you against the world. I don't know. I don't put much stock into the home and the away and all those kind of different things. One thing we do on the road is we prepare exactly the same way we prepare for a home game, except the difference is obviously you're not at your venue. But I don't know. I think our last couple of years at Tulane, we I don't know, I think we won 11 or 12 in a row on the road, something like that. But just I think it's preparation and that's something I'm going to dive into in the off season. But I don't think there's any set answer. Sometimes you play tough teams, at home as well. So which we have. Uh, so we just I think just having the same schedule on the road and not doing anything different and uh, might be a part of the reason for our success.
We'll go to Steve Helwick.
Hi, Willie. Earlier in October on the opening drives, those scripted drives, those were going really well for your team. After checking the film the past few games, is there anything you're noticing that defenses are kind of throwing at you early on, which has prevented that?
TCU ran a little bit more, kind of a soft zone than we anticipated. It hadn't shown that a whole lot. We did a good job with checkdowns, to the backs, and that's the reason why we had quite a few of those throws during the ball game. But the first drive we come out and we run a reverse, and we ended up converting on a 4th and 1 and moved the ball a little bit, but obviously not points. Second half, I was disappointed. We received the second half kickoff. We got a penalty and got behind the 8 ball and didn't get any points off of it. Same thing defensively. Their first drive, they kind of drove down the field and fast tempo and you prepare for that all week, but it's different when you get in the game. After that point in time, I think we settled down and played pretty darn well. But yeah, you always want to start fast. It certainly gives you an advantage and gives you a bunch of confidence.
We'll go to Sean Paul.
Morning, coach.
Good morning.
Um, so Ethan Sanchez, he's had time to, reflect from last game out. How is he doing now, from a mental aspect?
Oh, he's doing great. He's got a ton of confidence. I say it all the time about quarterbacks. I get too much credit sometimes, and sometimes I get too much criticism at other times when there's 10 other people involved. And sometimes the same way with kickers, and he's had an outstanding year for us. And, Ethan will bounce back and he'll do great this week.
We'll go back to Joseph.
Willie, this time of year, where coming off the off week, you had mentioned the you guys were sort of healthy or at least in a good place. Has Jamarian Burnett just not been available the last few weeks or the last month or so?
He's been banged up. He's had two different injuries this season, one with his knee early and then his thumb later. There's he needs to be on, ready to go if he's called upon. But Dean and DJ are really playing well, and then we got Stacy back. So he just got to be ready if his number's called.
You feel like going into the end here, you're still in good spot health wise?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. We got some kids that are out for the season. I think I counted up the other day, 9 or 10, something like that. But we're in pretty good shape right now.
We'll go to Manav Gupta.
Hey, Coach. Kind of going back to the TCU game. At the end of the first half, you guys forced the fumble and then had 48 seconds with a couple timeouts. What was, I guess, the thinking on that possession there? And you guys, I guess, in the future in the Baylor game, if you guys have a little bit of time left at the end of the first half, do you guys, is that kind of your game plan towards the end of the first half?
Well, we were receiving the second half kick, number one. We'd had a kind of a tough first half offensively. And, sometimes we've done it in some games where we've ran a play, and if it pops, you go ahead and continue with the drive and start speeding things up. But backed up the way we were with the amount of time left and receiving the second half kickoff and how we played in the first half, it just we wanted to kind of get in the locker room and regroup.
We'll go to Steve Helwick.
Well, Trevion McCutcheon's really stepped up in the past few games, career high in tackles, got that huge 4th-and-1 stop. What has been following his journey from mainly a special teams player to what he's doing for your defense now? What's that been like?
Well, I think we've got him in the right position. He was playing linebacker when I first got here, and we've moved him to, the jack position, kind of an outside linebacker, defensive end. He'll do a lot of things for us, and I think it fits his skill set. He's probably 6'2", 6'3", 240, 250, and runs well, good change of direction, and he's athletic enough that he can do all those things I talked about. So, we've got him in the right spot for sure.
We'll go to Alejandro.
Hey, good morning, Coach. What have you seen out of Baylor in this stretch where it's lost 4 of its last 5 games?
Really talented. They've got some, excellent quarterback, one of the top guys in the league, huge offensive line, really big guys. They got a couple of brothers who play left guard, left tackle that are very good players and big guys, but they're big across the line. A huge tight end who's a big threat. Number 34 out on the perimeter who, originally came there, I believe, as a walk-on. So loaded offensively, defensively, they're big. They got a big defensive line, and I believe they got number 1 punter, I know, in the conference, maybe in the nation right now. So good and solid in the kicking game. So just very, very talented group.
We'll go back to Sean.
Coach, once again, you'll be facing another good passing offense led by Sawyer Robinson. What does he do good that makes him such a threat?
Well, Sawyer Robertson really does a nice job of being able to make all the throws. Some guys are better, that mid-range, deep ball, not quite as good with, making the quick perimeter throws on the outside. He's just got good touch with everything that he does and smart. You're not going to throw a veteran quarterback like that. You're not going to throw anything at him that he hasn't seen before. So we got to have nice tight coverage and, small windows and also do a good job of not letting him sit back there and pat the ball. Because if he does that, he's going to have success against us.
We'll go back to Joseph Duarte.
Willie, have you maybe this is a staff question, but sort of started to dive into the postseason in terms of the bowl and stuff? I know there's things still left to be played, and the bowls have the picking selection stuff. But do you look at that at this point, or is that still too early?
Way too early. I don't think they're going to make a decision on that until a week from Monday. So 2 weeks from today, I believe, is when we'll find out exactly where we're going to be going. We may have an idea a day or two before that, but so there's a lot of time. We need to focus all our attention on Baylor after last ball game. We need to have a great week of practice and play our tail off at 11:02 on Saturday.
That was kind of the follow-up, just going into this last game after maybe not having two of the last three games. What do you tell your guys, and how do you to finish the year strong?
Well, exactly what you said. We talked about that this morning in our team meeting, finishing the year strong. It's nobody hates losing more than me, and but you got to move on. It's a kind of a lesson in life. I talked about this morning. You dwell on something bad that happened to you, and more bad things are going to occur. So you got to move on. It's one of the reasons why I don't have practice or meetings on Sunday. I had a wise old coach tell me that, if you won, you don't need to see him. If you lost, you don't want to see him, and they don't want to see you either. So we take Sunday off, and we went through the film this morning. We went through corrections for the first 15 minutes of practice, and we flushed it down the toilet, and we're 100% on to Baylor.
Couple more.
Willie, we talked to Will James the other night, and obviously he had such a great game, but couldn't take a lot of satisfaction in it because of the outcome. But when you have a guy that's played that type of game, what can you just say about his performance and sort of maybe how he's come along this season?
He has really improved. Coach PJ Hall, Coach Armstrong, I think our scheme fits him. I think Coach Hall has done a great job of coaching him. He's tackling better. He jumps in. He played in the kicking game. I know it's something nobody probably noticed, but he's what we call a controller on the perimeter against the other team's flyer, gunner, whatever you wanted to call it, with their punt team. He's dominated in that phase as well. Besides, forcing a fumble, having a couple picks, had some nice tackles. So that's the best overall game he's had. But he's elevating his game. Some guys are on the descent, which we want all our guys on the ascent, right? And he's definitely doing a great job of improving week after week after week. That's what you want all your guys to be able to do.
Any more before we let Coach go?
Congratulations to Coach Mitchell for his big win last night, and good luck to Coach Sampson and everybody out there in Vegas. Don't lose any money. Go Cougs.
Thank you, Willie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good.